under the auspices of the Digama Group.
Welcome to Rumbo Minero. My name is Jorge Leon Benavides. Together with Cesar Campos, we are going to develop this program, Rumbo Minero. How are you, Cesar? How are you?
A pleasure, as always, Jorge.
Well, we have as our guests the President of the National Society of Mining, Petroleum and Energy, Victor Gobitz. We are going to talk a little bit about investments and informal mining. So we have a very interesting topic there, Cesar. And what else do we have?
Well, we are going to address the thorny issue of the integral registry of mining formalization, Reinfo, which has been discussed so much in recent days as a result of the unfortunate and tragic events in the powerful mining unit in the town of Pataxe, La Libertad region. We are going to, and we have invited Pablo O'Brien, who is an independent consultant in social management and communications.
That's right. As you know, we are on YouTube channels also in Spanish and in English, so you can place us there. The following, please join us for the most important mining news of the week.
Thank you, Jorge. These are the main mining news of the week.
The Minister of the Interior, Victor Torres Falcon, met with representatives of the powerful mining company to inform them of the actions taken by the Peruvian National Police in the fight against organized crime linked to illegal mining in the province of Patas, region of La Libertad. The official, who visited Patas a few days ago and was able to learn firsthand about the problems in the area, remarked that with the objective of fighting organized crime linked to illegal mining in the province of Patas, region of La Libertad, remarked that in order to guarantee security for the entire population of this province affected by crime, a national police operations base will be installed in the area. The Ministry of Energy and Mines, through the General Directorate of Mining Formalization, held meetings with regional directors and managers of energy and mines throughout the country in order to collect contributions and proposals for improvement to the regulatory framework governing small-scale mining activities. The closure of the Cobre Panama mine, ordered by the Panamanian Ministry of Commerce and Industries, represents a turning point in the country's mining industry. It has not only significant legal implications, but also profound economic and social consequences.
Many thanks to Gabriela Chicoma for the week's top mining news. Well, we are now joined by Victor Gobitz, President of the National Society of Mining, Petroleum and Energy. He is going to talk to us about various issues in the sector. Victor, how are you? Welcome back to Rumbo Minero. Thank you for the opportunity, Jorge and Cesar. Well, first of all, I think the first topic we have to touch on is the unfortunate slaughter that has taken place in Patas at Minera Poderosa. Your appraisals regarding this unfortunate event.
I must begin by regretting this event and expressing my solidarity with the families of the bereaved, the 9 families, and perhaps put it in context, which is clearly something that we have already been talking about and reflecting on. We did it in Perumin, we also did it in the CA, and it clearly has a deep root in time and has to do with, let's say, with the informality of our labor force. We have to recognize that our country has grown, but with a very high level of informality, and that informality has become illegal and finally has become criminal. So how to solve it? As we mentioned in this reflection we have made as the mining society, we have to achieve full traceability. It is a business, like any productive business, that requires the purchase of inputs and finally produces a final good that is placed in the market. If we do not achieve full traceability of this, we will not be able to differentiate, as they say, the wheat from the chaff. It is clear that the Reinfo is an instrument that has allowed them to act in an illegal and criminal manner, but undoubtedly they also consume explosives, they consume chemical inputs, they process the mineral in some plants, between quotation marks, formal, and finally that final production is exported, and therefore, and finally they are bankrupted, and therefore, and finally it is banked. So if we do not achieve full traceability, we will not be able to separate the issue. Regarding explosives, it is clear that in Peru there are only 4 companies that sell explosives. This unfortunate attack that we have started talking about have been killed with explosives. You know, we have to achieve, talking about explosives, We have to make these companies follow the traceability process and know who is who.
You cannot
So-
sell to just anyone.
That's right. And we have to follow up on the reinfos because there are reinfos and reinfos. Undoubtedly, there may be artisanal people who are formalizing, but it has become a corrupt system, to make it clear, corrupt, that allows formalizing and playing with this competition. And then you also have
But not to
another
expand it,
important
right?
division, which is SUCAMEC. SUCAMEC is the division that approves the powder magazines, that approves the sale, finally, of the explosive. That authority, in this case public, no longer private, as it is those who supply or distribute explosives, this public authority that is SUCAMEC also has to be, it has to be a probative official, an official who answers to everyone. Because if we are, I am not jumping to any conclusion, but if they are not acting with probity, it is another source of corruption and paperwork that is legalizing the criminal.
Victor, but this dimension of insecurity adds one more line to the tiger, to a series of problems that the mining activity has been facing for many years now. Mining activity, isn't that right? Because of the social conflict, the lack of investment, the government has tried to introduce a strange bill called territorial reorganization, which definitely goes against what the highest government authorities have been announcing and have been assuming almost as a commitment. So the truth is that all this makes for a very difficult scenario, does it not? And I reiterate this new line to the tiger, which is the insecurity issue, as many would say, the year of 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 we will have too many difficulties, too many obstacles to attract precisely those investments that we are seeking, and for which, in the case of exploration, the government has already facilitated the single window. How do you see the perspective in any case, and what actions must be taken to overcome the set of problems that we have?
Look, if I could receive a word from you, we need a more determined government, more determined, because we need to make decisions, sometimes difficult decisions, but that is what they are an executive power for, to make decisions. On the issue of exploration, as you rightly say, the one-stop shop can help. On the issue of illegal gold mining, we have to achieve full traceability. We know that at the core of this, there are 400,000, 500,000 people who live from this activity. Therefore, in addition to traceability, we have to formalize it in an intelligent way. We do not need solutions as Mr. Oresti did in past decades, which was to throw bombs at it. That is not the definitive solution. And on the issue of conflict, we also need a decision so that the roads are not blocked, and that the dialogues or the difficulties or the controversies are solved on the roads, the legal roads that exist. If we achieve that, at least that, we should have a much better 24th year than this year that ended.
I wanted to ask you a little more about the Reinfo. In the Congress, we have congressmen that we already know that they have a conflict of interest, and they keep trying to extend it and extend it and extend the terms. Of the Reinfo that has been given, 5 or 4% has really been formalized or has really worked. So it is also being used as a wrong tool for certain things, as you were talking about the explosives issue. So what is the solution? I know that we have been doing this for 20 years. There is no magic wand. But what do you think is the solution to get us closer to being able to
about the issue of the functions
formalize?
That may exist in
We
those
are talking
areas
about
where
the issue of
government is
the
one that has the functions with sub-NATO offices.
There
on
is
the
talk
side.
about the
There
smelters
is
that
talk
may
of
exist
staggered
in those
taxes
areas where the
so that they
government
do
is the
not have
one that
such
has
heavy
the smelters
taxes
with
from so
SUNAT
early
offices
on
next to
and
them.
complete
There is talk
supervision.
of staggered taxes
There are
that are
many
not so
creative
heavily
ideas,
taxed from so
but where do
early
you
on
think
and
you
of
have
complete supervision.
experience?
There
What
are many
goes hand
creative
in hand
ideas,
so
but
that
where do
really
you think you
understanding
have
this group
experience?
that wants to formalize, we can really give them a hand and they can.
That it goes hand in hand with really understanding that group that does want to formalize. We really give them a hand and they can do it.
Do it? Yes, I thank you for your question because it is a fundamental question. Let's see, we have to understand that gold is quasi-money. That is the big problem that has to be solved, that being quasi-money, it is transferred and used as a means of trade, of exchange, very easily. So traceability, as I am saying, is fundamental to understand who is who, and clearly today it has a tremendous economic incentive. There is money, surely ill-gotten, that is being used and is being used because this generates a profit. So the solution cannot escape, it cannot be purely administrative, it has to have an economic focus. I have to have the traceability of who is exploiting the mines and the sale of explosives, which today, via Reinfo, is bought by a person who in turn resells it. This resale makes the final consumer of that explosive pay extra costs. I have no idea of the size, but if we manage with incentives to tell him I need to know where the explosive is finally, I am going to sell you for a short period of time the explosive at market price. What am I generating an economic incentive for him? What happens with the final production? The same thing happens. That is the final production of the gold. The gold goes through smelting and refining before being exported. And refining before being exported, and that smelting and refining surely punishes them in terms of costs and metal content. And again, why? Because as everything is produced in a black market, I am in the final phase of formalization, of being able, let's say, to enter the market with a product that has not been legal. I also have to get the state to intervene. In theory, there could be that possibility with mining assets that today have the possibility of buying gold, improve that price.
I need to improve
that price because I have to understand, and I have to understand that in order to gain traceability, I need private companies to intervene in this whole chain, but also to generate an economic incentive. Because if I do not have an economic incentive, I am not going to beat them.
To have a cushion that allows those who want to formalize to have the resources to be able to formalize, giving them a better price, controlling several things.
The inputs are bought at market value and the final production is sold at market value. But in interim, the commitment is full traceability. And that traceability...
That's a matter for the government oversight.
It is a government process, but also the private one, because they will have to cross-check information. If the government controls customs, the final production is going to have to make a meeting, a matching, as they say in English.
Two issues, explosives and the sale of the material.
And we have to have the borders under control because we know that a portion of the production of Puno and Madre de Dios goes through Bolivia. That has to end and all the production has to finally leave through customs, surely through the main port we have, which is Callao. Once this is achieved, we will have an idea of the size of the people involved. It is also important, I was forgetting, the financial system. It is estimated, because they are estimates, that more than 2 million ounces of gold are produced. At current prices, that is $4 billion. So it is not a business where the money is under a mattress. The money has to be banked. We also need the intervention of the survival of safe banks and private banks.
There is a job there that you are mentioning, a triangle that can be made.
With intelligence, we are going to beat the issue. Excellent.
Very well, Victor. Thank you very much. Congratulations for the management of the company. And we hope you can come in the next opportunity to tell us a little bit. I hope in the year of faith that things are improving in all the issues of the mining sector, which is very broad, to be honest. Thank you very much to you, both of you. Now, Gabriela Chicoma is going to tell us a little bit about Spomina. Go ahead, Gabriela.
Thank you very much. Expomina Peru, the largest and most important mining event of the year 2024, with 16 years of trajectory, with the special participation of the United States as guest mining country. Expomina Peru is the only Peruvian event certified by the United States Department of Commerce. Do not be left out and be part of this great mining event. Reserve your booth at Expomina Peru. For more information, visit our website, www.expominaperu.com.
Well, now in our America Mining block, we link up directly from New York, Wall Street with José Gonzáles, international editor of Rumbo Minero magazine, CNN contributor, among other things. Welcome, Jose, to Rumbo Minero.
Always happy to be on the program.
Jose, last week you told us about the debate on the nature of decarbonization under discussion at the COP Giscas E in Dubai. And this week, we want to follow up on the subject as the United Nations Global Warming Working Group meeting ended this week. Tell us what has been the conclusion, what has been reached on this issue that concerns us all, of course, with the issue of global warming.
In discussions that dragged on for hours, extending the end of COP Tingsigisiin until the day after the official conclusion, delegates sought intermediate agreements that would satisfy the opposing parties, the International Energy Agency and OPEC, as to the means and tasks for implementing the indispensable decarbonization. In the end, the debate was about language linked to the reduction in the use of fossil fuels, with declarative agreements, urging member countries to take appropriate steps to reduce carbon emissions in the coming decades. The agreements also state that each country will take its own course under a principle of common but differentiated responsibility. The agreement calls for each country to undertake a transition to reduce the use of fossil fuels in their energy systems, starting in this decade, in order to reach zero emissions by the end of the decade. The agreements also provide for financial assistance to nations in the global south affected by weather phenomena generated by global warming. According to Barron's, the winner of COP CCC8 is renewable energy, as 130 of the nearly 200 countries participating in the meeting have signed a commitment to work together to triple the installed capacity of renewable energy generation to at least 11 gigawatts by 2030, collectively doubling the average annual energy efficiency from 2% to 4%, per year by 233. Good news for Peruvian copper.
On the other hand, Jose, this week, attention has been drawn to the first measures announced by the government of the new president of Argentina, Luis Milei, through his Minister of Economy, Luis Caputo, who announced a severe fiscal adjustment, reduction of ministries, of secretariats, also of advertising guidelines to the media, reduction also of the public apparatus to the extent that they do not have contracts for more than 1 year. The truth is that this is a very severe adjustment, but one wonders, how does this impact? These measures or these adjustments that Milei's government is carrying out or is going to carry out in the nascent Argentinian mining industry.
Let's see. Bloomberg reports that the first measure to be announced has been a 54% devaluation of the peso, with a change in the official exchange rate of the peso to 800 pesos to the dollar, or a jump in the exchange rate of 118%. Caputo has also announced a provisional increase in the country tax on the purchase of dollars for imports and an increase in withholding taxes on non-agricultural exports, announcing the replacement of the current SIRA import system with a statistical information system that would not require prior approval of licenses. Among the fiscal measures, he announced the reduction to a minimum of the discretionary transfers from the national government to the provinces, the suspension of the bidding of new public works, and the cancellation of the approved bids whose development has not started. Caputo has confirmed that there will be a reduction of subsidies to energy and transportation, announcing a 100% increase in the universal child allowance and a 50% increase in the food card. Such fiscal adjustments that seek to reduce the public deficit by 5 points of the GDP could place Argentina in a recessive process that would help to reduce inflation, but not necessarily to comply with the external obligations that suffocate the country. For mining, the adjustment in the exchange rate is positive, insofar as it improves the terms of trade for local production with a view to exports, promoting its development to the extent that, being an alternative industry to the country's traditional agro-industrial one, it should be promoted by the state and looked upon favorably by private enterprises. In little more than a decade, Argentina's mining production has increased by 10%, and this could continue. In 1,000%, and this could continue to help Argentina's mining insurgency that we have seen in these decades.
Many thanks to José Gonzáles for, as always, this very interesting information that, as editor of Rumbo Minero magazine, international editor, will be in all our magazines. All the topics we deal with will be in our magazine, Rumbo Minero. And just talking about the magazine, Rumbo Minero, we have it here. You can enter www.rumbominero.com and you can access the magazine free of charge, the magazine online free of charge. So every 45 days, you will have first-class national and international material on the whole mining industry, which is very important. So don't forget to take your annual supplier packages. Now Cesar has an announcement to give us. Cesar?
That's right, Jorge. It's time to present the Institute of Mining Engineers segment of the
International Congress of Prospectors and Explorers, ProExplo, is the second most important mining event in the country and the most relevant in terms of exploration and geology in Latin America. The importance of exploration lies in the fundamental role it plays in the discovery and establishment of new mining projects. For this reason, ProExplo is a mandatory meeting for companies and professionals working in the sector. In its most recent edition, more than 3,000 people participated physically and virtually, and it is expected that its 14th edition will be held later this year by the hand of its president, Walter Tejada. We look forward to seeing you at ProExplo 2025.
At the international level, the Peruvian Institute of Mining Engineers has continued with its role of disseminating the country's mining potential in various international forums, such as the Society for Mining Metal Urgent Exploration, the Prospectors and Developers Association of Canada, or the World Mining Congress. In addition, since the World Mining Congress, we are currently preparing to host the 17th edition of the World Mining Congress to be held in our country in 2026.
Perumin is the leading mining convention in Latin America and the world, which brings together the most prominent leaders in the global mining sector, government representatives, investors, researchers, and multiple professionals linked to this industry. For 70 years, our institute has been organizing this great event, where the challenges and opportunities of mining are analyzed. In its last edition, Perumin Fantasy gathered more than 65,000 visitors from 56 countries and 23 regions of Peru, which turned Arequipa into the world mining capital. The next edition of the Mining Convention will be chaired by Jimena Sologuren. We look forward to seeing you at Perumin DKD 770.
Well, now we meet Pablo O'Brien, independent consultant in social management and communications. Pablo, how are you? Welcome to Rumbo Minero.
Thank you very much for the invitation. Once again, it is a pleasure to be with you.
Well, we are going to talk a little bit about the future of the Integral Registry of Mining Formalization, Reinfo, which is being talked about so much at the moment, which is being misused by a sector of miners who supposedly want to formalize. Some of them have been formalized. Let's talk a little bit about this. In the La Libertad region, activities of some 6,900 and some informal miners, of which 5,000 have been suspended from the mining registry. Reinfo for not complying with the minimum requirements demanded by the state. However, they continue to work, and we also know that many of them have been detained and then released by the police. So, what we have here is a little bit of a hoax with this Reinfo. In other words, in fact, when there is an intention to enter Reinfo, to use Reinfo, immediately the government realizes that they are not ready and then suspends them. By suspending them, they are not going to suspend their activities, they have to leave. So they remain informal. But Reinfo allows them, for example, dangerous things like having the option of explosive material, having certain things that are really dangerous. So first of all, Pablo, it should be suspended because the Congress with some congressmen with conflicts of interest that they have, it seems that mining companies should suspend this and try to do something else again. What should be done with this Reinfo?
No, I believe that the Reinfo has already been an instrument that has not been useful. That has been flatly demonstrated and a little bit in relation to what you say. On the contrary, it serves rather to give it a veneer of legality, to show that they are under a certain, let's say, process of wanting to legalize or formalize, and they never do. We have more than 10 years. There have been a series of, let's say, opportunities for them to formalize, and they do not formalize. So this situation is like closing the Reinfo issue and starting to think about a completely different policy on what we are going to do with illegal mining. And not only from the point of view that it generates an economic, etc., but because now we would have to start talking about criminal mining.
Okay, but we have to get on the other side of the desk as well. That is to say, in the beginning, the informal miners have wanted to, let's say, to formalize, and there is a large group that wants to do it.
And they have to stay formalized.
The government is giving them an offer so that they can really comply. It is making, with such a low level, it is going to be able to, or it is making such difficult steps that it is raising it and raising it.
No. The problem basically is that there is illegal mining here that wants to maintain itself as a mining company. In that state, they do not want to pay taxes. They do not want to assume the issue of formalization. It is not theirs. The land is not theirs. The concessions are not theirs either. Do you understand me? It goes beyond the fact that there is not an issue that, let's say, there is a series of requirements that are impossible to comply with. What there is, in fact, is a will of not wanting to comply with them. And secondly, a state that does not have the capacity to meet them, to make these people comply with the law. And that is the problem we have in Peru.
Why has the dimension of the crime of illegal mining not been adequately focused? Because according to a report by the Financial Intelligence Unit of the Superintendency of Banking and Insurance, it is the crime that is it is the crime that has generated the most money in recent years, $8,241 million compared to drug trafficking, which has generated $642 million. There are policies against drug trafficking, and it seems to be from the results that public policies regarding the generation of illegal money by these illegal miners has not been focused. What has happened and how should it be confronted?
Well, there you have a big, let's say, this responsible that should be looking at this, which is SUNAT, and that nobody talks about SUNAT in this, let's say, in this problematic, right? Because SUNAT is the one that should be controlling the inputs, isn't it? That is to say, the controlled inputs have to be without inputs. There is no mining, isn't there? Then SUNAT should be looking at who are these tax evaders, who these tax evaders are, which in the case of mining are extremely high, who they are and why they are not being, let us say, prosecuted. And thirdly, the whole issue of smuggling. So it is in these three sectors, isn't it? But nobody mentions SUNAT.
And I would add that Ingemer knows where the sites are.
Everybody knows because it is not very difficult. The problem is that the Peruvian state in recent years has been gradually losing its capacity to have a presence in the territory.
There are $4 billion that are in the air with an informal economy.
You know where they come from, and you also know perfectly well which are the processing plants. So, why are the processing plants not supervised, or why are they not eliminated? The problem is that we have this enormous amount of money that is produced is also used to corrupt the economy.
How was the parallel role played by some congressmen enough? Because there are 3 bills that pretend it is not true to reopen the kingdom.
And that also comes from a long time ago. That is to say, we must not forget that in the Vizcarra government, the Congress already extended. That is to say, the law of the Congress, with the law of the Congress,
Before there was talk of narco banks, do you have the impression that there is a bank of illegal mining?
Kingdom. Totally. And we see that, remember this Congressman Comeoro, isn't it true? That the illegal miners had supposedly financed Ollantaytamala's campaign. The first act that Humala does after he assumes the presidency is to go to the illegal mining areas, precisely the area where he is from, Coraquara and all these places, and he visits these places. So this issue has gone, then he confronted it, right? Then there was the big third strike.
Justice Government SONAT, they created this unit to control the trafficking of inputs. That's right. And it was a way to create the legal framework to...
As you have realized, all this does not work, and it does not work because Peru, unfortunately, is not able to impose order in the places. That is to say, we just go here to the corner and everybody runs the red light. So this is turning us into a failed country. The state is not capable of imposing public order anywhere. So you have absolutely liberated zones because what these criminal organizations are looking for is that there is no state presence so they can operate. And how do you achieve that? Just to finish with weapons, with armed people. That's why these places are aren't they, the object of intervention by criminal organizations, because they don't want the presence of the state. And they do not want the presence of the state in order to be able to act, to be able to extract all this enormous wealth, and only a group of people can take advantage of it. We must not forget that these resources belong to all Peruvians.
Do you believe in the militarization of places like the mining corridor as strategic for the country's economy?
I don't know about militarization, but I do believe in a greater presence of law enforcement, don't you? I think we have a very bad experience with militarization.
But we are stopping every 2 months in the mining corridor.
But the mining corridor,
Excuse me, 2 months.
How are we stopping? But the mining corridor is in a state of emergency. Patas is in a state of emergency, but they don't pay attention. No, that is the problem. We have nominative states of emergency. Before, the state of emergency was the state of emergency, wasn't it? Okay. Now, the states of emergency are a salute to the flag.
Year. Enforcing the law is the most important thing before removing the Reinfo. Enforce the law and make a new proposal for the informal where the government has the upper hand.
Salute to the flag, that's right. And SUNAT, isn't it? And SUNAT, do you know what you have to do?
Well, Pablo O'Brien, thank you very much for being on Rumbo Minero. We look forward to another time. Let's see how everything moves this coming year as well. Sure.
Well, yes, with more encouraging news, right? Let's hope so. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Well, now let's go to what Gabriela Chicoma is going to tell us about Expo Mina. Go ahead, Gabriela.
Thank you very much. Expo Mina Peru from September 21st to 13th, 2024 will be presided over by Luis Rivera, Executive Vice President of Gulfis Las Americas, and integrated by an advisory board of renowned mining leaders who will support us in achieving a magnificent organization. Highlight your brand through the different sponsorships we offer in Expo Mina Peru, networking opportunities, participation in exclusive activities, promotion in the media, among other important benefits. For more information, visit our website www.expominaperu.com.
Well, coming to the end of the program, Cesar, I think that what Pablo O'Brien mentions to us is a confirmation. A confirmation. Being a specialist, it is a confirmation that Reinfo is not working. It is being misused for 10 years now, and they really don't end. Now, one of the main issues where the government starts is, hey, the territory that you're exploiting is yours. And it's not in many cases, not in all cases, in many cases. Very few have been formalized. Then there is also the issue between me not wanting to formalize and between the government not finding the key. All governments are not finding the key to open that door and formalize people. It is also a complicated issue because there is an amount of money, as my figure is 4,000, yours is 8,000, but it is my figure.
Figures from the Financial Intelligence Unit of the SED.
But I have the figure for the movement of informal money of $4 billion, whatever it is.
Suddenly it is the terms, Jorge, because we were talking about the last 10 years, 2013, 2023. It is 8 billion.
Well, this figure, whatever it is a lot of money that the government is not taking out. taxes.
And it is good that we have addressed this issue with Victor Gomez because we have a very definite position. This does not have to affect minors who are in the process of formalization because they have already been invited to the party and you cannot throw the door in their face because a delinquent has crashed that same party. No, you have to know how to separate the wheat from the chaff. And in this approach, we are going to maintain our position that we have to be very careful not to affect millions of families or millions of members of families that are depending and waiting for the state to truly comply with this separation. Illegality and informality, on the other hand, which is about to be formalized.
We are a country with 70% of informal workers. That is the way it is, unfortunately. But these informal workers generate a brutal economic movement in the market. So what the government has to do is to be smart to be able to have taxes on that. Same thing in illegal mining, informal mining, same thing. It's a lot of money. So we have to start to be intelligent, to have a strategy as a government so that we can really have more resources that the health and education sectors need so much. And not only squeezing the big formal companies to pay their taxes, when in fact we see how there are also serious environmental problems in illegal mining. Well, my name is Jorge Leon Benavides, and together with Cesar Campos, we have developed this program. Don't forget, next comes Peru Construye. On the mining side, thank you very much, and we will see you as always in a moment for Peru Construye.